and let's begin the last session, which will give you an overall idea or good idea about your project. So our last portion of the project, I told you about project yesterday. Like whenever we will execute that project step by step, what will happen? We will be taking the data from CSV, then we will process it, validate it, and finally, so we learned about reading a file. We learned about how do you process like validation, like how do you do that for integers or maybe strings and all those. And finally, you have to do what? You have to save that data somewhere. So that somewhere will be MySQL. So we will be using MySQL to save that data. And now I'll be telling you how do you actually, or I'll be teaching you how do you actually connect to MySQL. Okay. For that, first you need to have MySQL on your computer. So I'll give you the link right away. So all of you are able to see my screen. Able to see my screen. So the link is MySQL downloads. In here you have two different things. One is your enterprise edition of MySQL. We don't want that. We want the community version of it. So we'll go to, wait a second. We'll go to MySQL GPL, okay, community GPL download. Select this, okay, and in here you download MySQL installer for Windows, okay. That's what you should do. So in that you will actually have option to choose which version of MySQL you want to install. I'm going to give you this link right away in the chat box. Please look at the chat box right now. Okay. So this link will give you, guide you through, or otherwise just directly go to mysql.com, choose MySQL community, and then go for MySQL community download Windows installer, and then you can actually download this one. You have MSI, so if you have a good internet speed, download this one, and then it will be downloading and installing simultaneously. If your internet speed is breaking in between, use this option because this will download everything in your computer and then you can easily install. Well, with that, you can install with the custom option, default option, and it will install everything for you. One of the good component it installs is MySQL Workbench. It comes for free. So you can install MySQL Workbench and it's actually provided to you anyway as a part of this particular installation. So you don't have to download it separately. It also comes with examples. So let's see those examples. I'll connect to my local instance here. By default, this is configured. You don't have to do any extra efforts. It will directly be here. So I'll be able to see my MySQL running or not. If you want to see that, you can choose on administration tab, startup and shutdown, and you will be able to see whether your MySQL server is running or not, or you'll be able to stop it or start it, depending on like what you want to do. And if you want to see the databases, you can click on schemas and you will see some schemas already there. So 2-3 schemas like Sakila, Sample, Sys, and World are already part of MySQL Workbench as a default databases given to you. Okay, we are going to create our own database. Okay, and we'll create some tables. We'll insert some data so that you will get a good idea like how does MySQL interaction works. So this is about MySQL installation. Now, what about Python's connectivity to MySQL? So for that, you need to use PIP installer. PIP is Python installation program. So in PIP, you will actually tell MySQL connector Python. Okay. So I'm going to give you this command. Anyway, this document is given to you or will be given to you. You can use that, but you can run this particular command right away. PIP install MySQL connector Python. I'm going to do it right now. So I'm going to my command prompt cmd, open that. Then I will just start. You can go to your Python folder and start working on it. Okay, so now you can just say pip install, or you can just copy paste and you can just say Python MySQL Python connector. Okay, so MySQL connector Python, MySQL connector Python, and that's it. It will install MySQL connector Python for you, whichever the latest version available in the market. So this MySQL connector, what it does, it acts as a bridge between your Python and MySQL. Remember that databases talks in SQL and Python obviously speaks Python. So Python want to interact with the database, you need a mediator. That mediator is MySQL connector. So I already have it installed. So I'm not doing anything, but for you, it will actually install something on your computer. Cool with that? After that, you can come back to your PyCharm and you can see whether MySQL is connected or not. So here you can just start import and you can just ask for MySQL dot connector. MySQL dot connector. And if it connects, then well and good. Basically, if you are not getting any error, then basically your installation, the connector installation is successful. Cool with that? Now for entire journey, you just have to remember only one object that is called as cursor. So cursor object is responsible to connect to MySQL. Okay. Cursor object is responsible to connect to MySQL. Now, how do you do that? How do you get the cursor? So first, you need to provide some parameter. Like how do you really connect to MySQL? So if I open this particular MySQL workbench and I click on session, I see some connection details. So name, host, port, login, current user, cipher, all these details. Okay. So just copy these details for you and you can just create a comment block and just paste it here. This will be handy. Okay. So now we're going to use this parameter for connection. Cool with that. Now, how do you connect? So MySQL connector, you need to pass MySQL connector parameters. These are parameters to make a connection. So let's make a connection now. So how do you connect? You actually use MySQL connector connect. Connect is the method and you pass all these parameters host, user and password. You can also pass the database. Cool with that? So let's go ahead and do that. And then we will replace those parameters with the parameters we just pasted above. Cool with that? So I'm saying MyDB. So this is like any database. Basically connecting to the database. This is a connection. Okay. You can also say that this is my connection. That's my connection. MySQL connect connector dot connect and you pass all these things. So now host is localhost, user is root, and password is my password is password. Okay, but for you password can be different. Now you don't generally put the password here. There are other ways to put it. In advanced course, you're gonna learn like how to encrypt this password and pass it along. And in Django framework, how do you really pass those all those important parameters like that. So now we are ready to create a connection to MySQL. Okay, as I told you, there is only one object which you have to remember, and that object is called as cursor. So cursor object helps you to connect to MySQL. How? So let's do that. Let's go for, okay, as of now, we are just printing it. But if you just see that, how do you make a cursor? So that's it. You are just asking for cursor object. You are going my connection dot cursor. Cursor is an active interaction between your Python and the database. Okay. If you get the cursor, that means your connection is successful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print this cursor, my cursor. Okay. It doesn't have anything. You can also print a DB. You will get some weird, okay, you'll get some weird characters printed. That's okay. We just wanted to check whether we are able to connect to database from Python. That's what our target is. One of the important things you should always remember, whenever you make a connection, you should always close that connection. So you always call the close method on this. Good. Cursor will be automatically closed as connection. Or otherwise, if you are not very confident, then close the cursor also. No issues. So you can close the cursor. Well, with this. So now go ahead and run this and see if you are able to connect. So you can see that MySQL connection object is getting created and you got cursor, nothing executed here. So cursor is actually empty. Cool. So now let's make our own database. So how do you create a database? You have a command, create database command. Okay. Cursor executes everything. Cursor has an execute method and it executes everything. So let's create an execute method. Let's have an execute method on cursor and let's create a database. So here I print this, create database, and I'm giving a name So this is like KK stands for Coding King Python, and our batch is called June 2021 or June 21. So KK Python 21. That's my database name. Okay, and it will be executed. Cool. And if you want to see how many records basically got inserted into it, you can always execute show database command, and it will be actually giving you all those records. Cool with that? If you want to do that, you can iterate through it also. Here you go. So cursor.execute show databases. Now remember, this execute actually retain the result of this particular query. So the good way is to close this particular cursor and recreate it. Okay, so cursor dot, you have something called as, okay, hold on, I'll give you this command. Yeah. So cursor dot, you just say close and reopen that cursor with connection. This is very common. Or another way will be create a new object altogether. Who harms you? Okay, so you can always create my cursor one, okay, which is executing for show database, and you can iterate through my cursor one. Only remember that you close both the cursors. That is very important. Okay, so both things are very easy. Good with this. So I don't want to close this here. So cursor one connects to this particular connection again, and you execute show database. And what it does, it will actually show all the databases exist. I also iterate through the cursor so that I will get the database names. Good with that. So always remember there is one object which can help you is cursor. So let me execute this. Say this. I got a database, and in here in that database names you have KK Python June 21. Good with that. Now once this is created, I no longer need to create, or I no longer want this one again. Like I can pass this here itself. So what I can do, I can just say comma, because I want to access tables, right? Not every time I will create a database itself. Database is a schema which has a lot of tables. So I don't want it every time. So what I will do, I'll say database equals, and you pass the parameter KK Python June 2000 or June 21. And this particular place is not right for that. So let me copy this, and then we will learn about inserting something into the table. We need to create the table also. Okay, let's do that. Let's insert and create simultaneously, or we'll do it here. That's fine. Create database. We created here itself. Okay, so here you go. And always remember that we gonna use the object which is called cursor forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this particular code snippet everywhere. Okay, so my connection is getting created, cursor is getting created, close the cursor, close the connection. Copy this code everywhere. Insert statement, paste, select statement, paste, update statement, paste, delete statement, paste. Okay, so because every single time, whatever you do, okay, you need these statements. Cursor is only way of interaction. Okay, so now we are here. Now we want to create a table. So let's create a table. What is the query for creation of table? Create table command. Okay, so create table, customer, varchar, and address. There are two things into it. So that query I'm passing to cursor. Remember that cursor has only one command, which is execute. Cursor has other commands, but most important is execute. So cursor.execute, and you pass whatever you want to execute against the database. That's it. Okay, whatever records you receive will be part of the results. Good with that. Now after this you can also get the list of this, but anyway I'm fine with that. So let's execute this particular code and create a table. So we execute create table. Finish this. Whether this customer is created or not, that we will see now. So I'm going to schemas. I'm refreshing my schemas. I see if I get KK Python somewhere. Yeah, I got this. Let me make this as a default schema. And in tables, I see customers. Okay, it has two columns, name and address. Good with this? So you got that particular table created. Now we're gonna insert. So again, what we'll do, we will have cursor. Again, cursor is everything. So again, for Python, it's very easy and simple. So we're gonna insert some data into table now. So for that, you need insert query. I'm giving you a simple way to create an insert query. Okay, you can go to your MySQL editor, right click your table, copy to clipboard, insert statement. And you know what? You will get an insert statement for free. See this, you got an insert statement for free. You can remove this. Okay, see this name and address, and then values. And you might be passing those values dynamically. So you can just say question mark, comma, question mark, and this is not needed anymore. And you got your insert query. Copy this insert query and paste it in your code. That is our insert statement. Okay, so here I'm saying insert statement equals to, and put it there. Put it there. Okay, you don't need this. It's not needed. Okay, clear with this? Now, how do I execute this insert statement? You need values also, correct? You need values. So values, you can actually get it from somewhere, okay, like a screen, or you can create a tuple. Okay, so value, you create a tuple, and tuple can be something like this. You are creating a value tuple, okay, and that's it. You pass it here. So here value John and highway 21. These are the values will be passed. John is name, address is highway 21. That's it. The command is mycursor dot execute. Pass the insert statement, pass the value. Okay. And one additional operation you have to do is commit. Okay. So my connection dot commit. Commit is like I am done with this particular transaction. So whenever you are doing insert, update, and delete, database will ask you to commit that particular transaction. Only after commit that the result will be reflected, the changes will be reflected into the database. If you don't commit, then the results will not be reflected in the database. Okay. So now you pass the value. You are saying insert, execute basically, and you insert statement is passed here, and you are done. Okay. So whether it works, let's see. If you want to check how many number of records are actually updated, you can always get mycursor.row count, and you'll get how many records actually inserted because of this query. Good with that? So let's go ahead and execute this particular class insert statement. There is some error. Let's see what it is. Okay, one thing is question mark. We need to pass this as a string, not question mark. So every Python query, the query in Python considers all the parameter at %s, regardless whether you are passing an integer, float, decimal, doesn't matter. A tuple you can always pass it as a what? String. So that's why %s. %s will be replaced by the values with left to right order. So first will be replaced by first value. Second % will be replaced by second value. Simple as that. Okay. So now go ahead and run it again. One record inserted. Is it though? So go ahead and check, refresh this, and you just say select. Just say select star from customer and run. And you will get what? See the select star from customers. Okay, that's the table name. And you'll get John and highway 21. If you have multiple records to be inserted, you have execute mini also. Okay, so you have execute mini where you can pass multiple records. We'll take that example right away. So if you want to pass multiple records, this value, I'll comment that value. Okay, and instead you will get this one. So this is a list of tuples. Okay, this is a list of tuples. Now you're gonna pass. So now you're gonna pass a value, but it is a list. So that's why you will use execute mini method. So this is many inserts. Okay, and then you can always get the latest value. If server is not local, then you can use the IP address here. Okay, definitely you can use host, and you can attach port to it. Okay, so you can always say 3309. That's a default port, but you can always attach port also. Okay, give the IP address in host. The statement, see if it was 6 records inserted. Come back here, see if it is really inserted or not. And you can see this, all of them are inserted. Go with this. Okay, wherever your database is available, if you are able to connect your database through this one, okay, see this tool, if you try to, so do one thing, just click on this plus sign and try to connect this. Even here it is hostname is basically an IP address. So if you are able to connect here, it will be connected through Python, no issues. Okay, although this is created in Java. Okay, so that is insert many. You can always get an inserted ID with the help of mycursor.lastRowID. That is up to you. Then we can go for select statement. The command is exactly same. There is no new thing here. We are doing the same story. Mycursor.execute. Nothing new in there. Nothing new. So go here. Here you go and say select start from customers. And you're gonna iterate through it. So you're gonna iterate through it. So you have one more addition thing is results, and you will fetch. So you have 3 commands here: fetch all, fetch one. So let's fetch the results. How do you do that? You say my results, my cursor.fetch all, and you can iterate through the results. So for each row in my result, and you can print each row. Remember that each row will give you all the columns in list format. In list format. So if I'm getting a list out of it, I can always get column 0 or the first column with the help of this one, correct? Because we learned data structures. This is how it works, right? If I print each row, it's gonna give me each row like this. So run the select statement and you're gonna get all these things. Sorry, tuple, not list. And you can, so suppose I just need a name, tuple has index access, we know that. So let's say I just need a name, I will get each row of 0, you will get only names out of it. Got it? If I have a password and username set where? Where do you want to set? In MySQL? No, it doesn't matter. Whenever you are making a connection from external entity, you need to pass username password. They cannot be set in MySQL, right? You have to pass it from your end. Either you pass it from the file or it can be encrypted, but somewhere, whenever you are making an external connection, you have to pass along the credentials to it. Okay? You cannot set it at that end. Okay. Selecting a column, that's nothing. Okay, we are always going to select a column. Fetch one, going to give you only one record. Okay. Select with the filter where clause. So let's do this. So select with the filter. So you have select query where you are fetching with the help of an address. Okay, so here I'm commenting this, adding a new statement, SQL, where address is this, and then execute this particular SQL. Let's select from customer where address is Park Lane 38. Do we have something like that? Park Lane 38? I don't think so. No, we don't. So let's take something. This one. What happened? Yeah, copy this from insert then. So let's take Low Street 4 address and just pass it here. So you will get only Low Street 4. You know this, and you can always go for fetch 1. So it will not give you fetch 1 will give you only 1 record. Okay, I recommend you always go for fetch all because we don't know like how many. Okay, how many records you really have. Okay, so go for that. Like MD5, how to use in MySQL. I'm not a MySQL expert. Okay, but if you really want to do that, explore this Cypher. Okay, the Cypher is provided here. No, you cannot pass. So you can definitely pass SSL Cypher. Okay, with the parameter here. So you can open this connect and see what are the argument it respects. Okay, if it respects all these arguments, so Unix socket, port, failover, okay, you can explore this all. Host, will be that. There are n number of things to see, priority, weight. If it is expecting your SSL sockets also, go ahead and take it, not an issue. Okay. Okay. Going forward, I'm not create statement. I'm here and run. You got Peter. That's correct because Peter has this particular address. Yes. Awesome. And finally, you have update statement. So update is very similar to what we did. Only thing is update has internal select statement. Sorting all, this is only with SQL only. There is nothing Python is doing here. What your query is doing there. So let's say update first. So let's take an update record. So I'm going back to our coding change files, update statement, and here I have update query. Update customer set address canyon 123 and where address equals to or customer equals to doesn't matter. Okay, so do we have valid 345? Yes. So for Michael, you have that. Cool. So now you go back and execute the update statement. How do you do that? Same story. Okay, there is no new thing. My cursor.execute. Okay, same story. And you pass the SQL, commit the logic, get the row count, and you are done. Nothing new. So that's why I'm telling you this is very easy. Okay, and you're done. So not select update statement. When row affected, see this. So Canyon 123 should be updated. So value 345 should be gone for Michael. So let's see. And it is Canyon 123. And finally, your delete statement. We'll take that. And do not use delete statement unless you are absolutely clear what you're doing. We generally do not recommend delete statement nowadays. All deletes are soft deletes. Even if still you want to try, go ahead and do that, not an issue, but make sure that you know what you do. Making a mistake here can actually eliminate data permanently from the database. Okay, so delete from customer where address equals to this. So you're passing yellow garden 2. Do we have any yellow garden 2? If not, no, we don't have it. So let's delete something, say Apple Street. Okay, and pass this and see if it actually deletes something. So right click and delete statement. Finishes. Let's see if we got that particular row now. So it's gone. It's gone. So with this, you don't have it Apple Street anymore. You don't have Apple Street anymore. Cool with this. So that's the delete for you. So whatever you do, the pattern is same. You create a cursor, okay, and you see cursor.execute. Cursor.execute. If it is select, then you fetch the records so that you will be able to fetch it and then process it. If you insert, then you have insert execute and execute many. If you update it, just execute again. If it is delete, then only execute. That's it. That's it. There is nothing to remember. Okay. How to save CV? What is CV? Save file in Python? Save file means download file in Python. No, wait. What? No, you don't have to get it from URL. You'll get it. So your project is to get that from your own file location. You don't have to download from the URL. That is way out of scope. You have a simple HTTP server to be created. Okay, there is way out of scope. Okay, I have to tell you how this HTTP call really work. Okay, and you will spin up an HTTP server and hit the URL and then you can download the stuff. Okay, that's way out. Okay, how to save CVE for Excel file in Python. So that will be a file creation. Okay, Excel file is out of scope. Okay, Excel is different story. CSV file you can. Okay, CSV file is just comma separated values. Okay, that's it. You can save it with the same format which I told you yesterday. Right, write file. Just use commas. We are done. Okay, for working with Excel, we have a completely different installers. Okay, which can actually interact with Microsoft Word and Excel. Okay, CSV file you can. But with this, rather you are using this. Our project is using CSV files. So you have to use or read CSV file. It will be read as a text file only. So with this, I don't know what the CVE means. Okay, more questions related to what we are learning. I see the questions are in any direction. Like, I don't know like what you guys are thinking. Excel like your project file. Okay, no, you cannot work on Excel with whatever you learned up to this point. Okay, you can work with CSV files only. In my project, that is also CSV file. Okay, so I'll show you this. So if I open file IO, this file, right? Customer, okay, so CSV file, right? CSV file customer wash time.csv. This is our project file. You can always open that in TextPad, Notepad. It doesn't matter actually. It's just comma separated value. It's not an Excel. Okay, so just open in TextPad. You will see this is just a comma separated values. Okay, that's why it's called as CSV. Okay, and because it has that kind of tabular structure, you can open that in Excel. Put with that. So just put an extension as CSV and it's done. You don't have to do anything else than that. Just extension.csv. It's done. Okay. Okay. More questions? GitHub, yes. So let me do that right away. So now your task is to complete that entire project. The project videos will be available in the same location where you are watching the day-to-day videos. Okay, I'll be sending you all the actually I already sent you, but now they are getting uploaded. So project will be working on these particular videos and complete your task one by one. There are 3 videos I shared. Okay, yesterday I gave you link, but you will also get the videos getting uploaded. Okay, when the classes are done till class, this is last class, this is the last class, that's why I'm telling you the project. Okay, cool. So fine, so that's why I'm telling you the initial part of learning Python, then you learned about reading a file and then saving it to database. The end-to-end project work can be performed with whatever I taught you. Good with this? So now you're going to complete your project and send it to me and get the feedback out of it, whether you are actually making a progress or not. Okay, that is a Python from scratch thing. Okay, so let me update this particular file in GitHub because I want this to be shared immediately. Let's go to GitHub and complete this activity. GitHub Python Coding Kings and upload. So this one, yeah, refreshing that. Oops, what's happening? I was logged in with my personal credentials, my another repository. That's not what I was looking for. Okay, so here you go. So code is updated. You can see updated code with DB connectivity. The changes. So you got the latest file now. GitHub credentials. Why do you need GitHub credentials? Here you go. You can search for Rishi Trainer. Okay, and find Python coding keys. And you'll be able to download all these things, including the assignment. Cool with that? And videos, you can always get it from Coding Kings. So any open questions, anything you don't know about the project, you will get the videos anyway. In project, what you have to do, read the CSV, which I just shared with you. Read that CSV, then validate the data according to the mentioned or according to the provided, okay, the things provided, and then you do it. Okay. Try except, okay, so that's not in our normal curriculum, that is an exception handling. Okay, we cover that in our advanced section. Anything related to project you don't know, you wanted to know? All good? Okay, awesome. So then I'm expecting the project files from you, and let's take it forward. So people who wanted to get into touch with me, okay, go through Coding Kings, make sure that you let them know and continue for advanced Python. So we are starting that batch like probably in the next week, okay? And that will be a full paced and it has more detailed content into it. It has Selenium with Python for 3 hours, okay? Then it has Django framework, it has Pandas, okay? So it is more content to it, like an exception handling as you saw. Okay, so all these things are compressed into a complete course, and that course will be like around 25 to 30 hours. So with that, and that will be slower than this. Okay, so this is a little bit what I can say faster because we have to cover and compact it in 2 weeks plus a project. But that course will be elaborated, and the project will be more towards again we have a deeper project which is called as CDAP, sorry, which is called as SAR automation, shelf automated replenishment in a retail domain. Okay, so we're gonna take a DMart problem and we actually execute a project which is executed in DMart. Okay, so we're gonna solve that in our advanced course. Okay.
सर आप थोड़ा if you don't mind सर आप try and accept की सिखा सकते हैं थोड़ा बस खाली
क्या
ज़्यादा नहीं
दिखाओ?
try and accept की
ट्राई एंड एक्सेप्ट, ओके ठीक है, चलो डिस्कस करते हैं ट्राई एंड एक्सेप्ट को. ओके, सी ट्राई एंड एक्सेप्ट कब यूज होता है, उसको कहते हैं एक्सेप्शन हैंडलिंग. एक्सेप्शन हैंडलिंग का मतलब क्या है कि जब भी पाइथन में या किसी भी प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज में, लेट्स टेक इट एज अ सेपरेट, okay, let's take it here, let's take a file. So अगर कोई, okay, let's say try except test. So अगर we have a faulty scenario, let's say I'm trying to access a variable which doesn't exist at all. Okay, just for an example, I'm printing x. That x doesn't exist. Okay, and I'm trying to run this particular code. I'm going to get an error, right? This is name error. The x is not defined. Now, to avoid this kind of scenario, okay, of course, this is very bad scenario to do it, but avoid any kind of scenario which is an error near scenario or a risk prone scenario, we use try and accept. So, what's the format of that? I'll tell you this. So, we have try, okay, and in try, you have the risky code which can generate an error. Risky code which can generate an error. Okay, if that particular error gets generated, then what to do? You accept it. So you write accept, that is called an exception. Okay, in exception, if you know exactly which exception is coming through, make sure you write it. Like if you know that name error is gonna come here, then type name error, no issues with that. If you think there are multiple errors coming through, you can always combine them together. Name error, value error, all those things you can combine. There are multiple errors. We will see that in our advanced course. Go with that. And then if you want to dig into what message that particular error is giving, you can always alias them, like let's say EX. Okay, and then you print it. Okay, let's run this code. Why I'm writing in a comment. So let's run this code. So we have try. Let's say that there is a risky code. Okay, so what I do is I define a list. Okay, so let's say test equals, and I'm defining a list 100, 200, 300, and I'm printing. This is not a risky code at all until you see this test, and I'm actually trying to access 9th element out of it. Definitely, it's gonna give me an error. Okay, and let's say print EX. Or you don't accept any kind of this thing. Just whenever there is an exception, just add a broad error. Okay, and you can just see error occurred. Okay, that's it. What was the error, by the way? So let's print it behind or before try and accept. Try to understand what kind of error it gives, and with try and accept also. Okay, so let's comment this first. Run this. So you'll get index error. List index out of range. There is no element at position 9. Correct? So to avoid this kind of errors, what you can do is you can write try and accept. So now I have a try, then there is a risky code. And if there is an error or exception happens, you print exception occurred. Cool with this? Now you run this, error occurred. You don't get that weird kind of message. Okay. So if you know the specific error, you can just say index error. Okay, and it will happily capture that. You can add any number of except blocks. You can add except value error. Okay, and you can print value error. Okay, whatever it is. Good with that. Now with except there is also one more thing which comes as finally. Finally actually executes regardless whether error happens or not. So regardless error happens or not, finally will execute. So whenever you want to close a connection, close a file, use finally block. Finally will always close the connection or close the file. That is finally. Okay. So see this error occurred. Regardless error happens, we are executing finally. Suppose there is 1, so there is no error occurred. 200, and you are still running finally. Good. So finally always executes. There is additional stuff in Python which is called as else block. So else block is also available with try. So else executes only when try completes. So only when try completes. It's not like finally. Obviously, you have to write else first. So else should be first, then finally. Remember this. This is the hierarchy. So try, except, else, and finally. This is how it goes. Okay. So else only executes when try completes. So now run this. You will see only when try completes. Now raise an error. Raise an error, and you will see that error occurred, but now else is not executed. Okay. This will execute because it's the finally. Good with that? So this is the standard syntax of try, except, else, and finally in Python. Okay. We have more details into it when we do what I can say exception handling. We have more like customization of exception, raising an exception, and all kind of stuff. Cool with that? But that's a brief intro of try except. Cool with that? Awesome. So go ahead and complete your project. Connect with me. Let me know if you face any difficulties anywhere. You have my email address. Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good one. Bye bye. Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.